Only those with excellent social standing and those from filthy rich families are lucky enough to spend their time here at the elite private school Ouran Academy. The Ouran Host Club is where the school's handsomest boys with too much time on their hands entertain young ladies who also have way too much time on their hands. Just think of it as Ouran Academy's elegant playground for the super rich and beautiful.
Isn't he the cutest thing ever? Oh my god! Best $30 I've ever spent. Bisco Hattori? I'm so sorry. Is a manga artist that started working on a silly little romance manga called Ouran High School Host Club in 2002, which ended up being a very huge series for them. An anime adaptation of this series was released in 2006, along with video games, movie adaptations, and live-action spin-offs. 2 of them, to be exact. I remember watching this anime for the first time when I was 10 years old, which in hindsight is not the best thing in the world, but it's better than what kids are watching nowadays. So, on top of that, Ouran was technically my first anime, but I could be lying because I did occasionally watch Pokemon. Does Pokemon count? Wait, actually I think my first anime might have been Ponyo. That came out in 2009. Yeah. Whatever, that doesn't matter. Ouran High School Host Club is such an interesting work of fiction due to the diverse casts of personalities that interact with each other. I have a soft spot for this show because, like I said, it's my first anime, and I have so much appreciation for animated Japanese media and mangas, so I always pay respects to the show that put my foot through the door in the first place. Okay. Enough praise. That's not the only reason why I'm here. This show aged like milk. Like, 10-year-old me was too stupid to have an ounce of media literacy, and I just didn't critically think about a single thing that was going on in that entire show. Like, seriously. There were 2 twin brothers that were acting romantically with each other, and I thought that was normal. I mean, I didn't think it was normal, but, like, I didn't really have a problem with it either, so yeah, weird stuff, man. What prompted me to make this video in the first place is actually a TikTok that I made, like, God knows how long, like a couple weeks ago. And I was talking about how I don't like when people criticize Ouran, even though the show really deserves the criticism. And actually a lot of people seem to agree with how I felt about that because they're like me and they either have like a soft spot for it or like a sense of loyalty towards Ouran because it was one of their first animes as well. And that got me thinking, if I don't like it when random people criticize the show, then I guess that just means that I have to criticize it myself. And so here I am. Today we're going to be exploring the epic highs and lows of high school hosting by acknowledging all of the icks that were laced into the show. I watched all 26 episodes and took extensive notes on each one, which is definitely more effort than I put in my college classes. Sorry, Mom. We're only going to be looking at the anime in this video because I have never read the manga and I'm not going to because this video would have taken months to finish if I added that on top of like the 12 other mangas that I'm also reading at the same time right now. Am I getting through any of them right now? No, making zero progress on all 12 of those mangas, but nonetheless I am trying because I have no self-control and I hate myself. In this video, I'm going to be going through each episode in order, give a quick synopsis, and I'll sing some praises, but I'll definitely give some concerns, and then I'll let you know what I'd rank that episode on a scale of 1 to 10 as a standalone episode. So I'm not going to rank all of that's too much work. Before we get started, I want to say for the record, I am aware that the show is satire. I actually didn't know it was satire until like semi-recently, like a couple years ago, actually. Yeah, some people in my TikTok comments section actually kept defending Ouran's like weirdness by mentioning that it's satire, but I really don't think that satire is a good excuse to mask all of the shit that goes on in the show. I'm aware it's satire and I don't care. I'm still making this video. Also, another disclaimer, I love this show. I really do. This video is not meant to be like a call to action or like a compilation of all of the reasons why we should cancel the show. Like, I genuinely love this show. And actually, because I love the show so much, I am willing to put all of my time and effort into criticizing it. I'm doing this because I care. All right, let's get started.
Starting today, you are a host.
You cannot name a show with a more iconic first episode. Actually, you probably could, so just keep that to yourself. The first episode starts by introducing Haruhi Fujioka, a first-year student that looks like a disheveled little boy roaming around the halls of this elite school because he wants to find a quiet place to study. This is when we see the iconic stairs for the first time, the red ones. They're so pretty. Also, we get the iconic Tamaki monologue.
Only those with excellent social standing and those from filthy rich families are lucky enough to spend their time here at the elite private school or on academy.
Haruhi is still trying to find a place to study when he stumbles upon music room number 3. Instead of finding a quiet oasis, Haruhi finds the host club. This episode gives brief descriptions of the rest of the main cast and explains how our main character gets lumped in with these weirdos to begin with. Let's start off with the host club king, Tamaki Suo. Tamaki is clearly the heart of the host club and blissfully ignorant of his arrogance towards people who are not as rich as he is. His heart seems to be in the right place a lot of the times, but everything he does just falls flat. In this club, each host represents a very specific romance trope, so Tamaki is the princely type. Next is Kyoya Otori. He is clearly the brains behind the operation. Because he wears glasses. No, that's not a reason. I'm kidding. But he is very smart. He is a straight-edged, no bullshit kind of person, and Tamaki describes him as the cool type. Mitsukuni Hananazuka, aka Honey. Oh, I'm so excited. I love him so much. Okay, he straight up looks like a small child, but he's actually the oldest member in the damn club. And I checked. I literally look at the Ouran High School Host Club wiki. I checked. He is the oldest member in the show. He loves cute things and has an enormous sweet tooth, and he's also seen carrying this pink bunny around, which is, I love you, Usa-chan. I understand why he carries him around all the time, too. Wouldn't you want this on your person at all times? I would. I should. He just stays on my bed a lot of the times. In fact, you see him in the corner a lot. In a lot of my other videos, he's always back there. But here he is in the spotlight for once. Tamaki describes Honey as the boy Lolita type, which makes me want to vomit. For those who are not in the know, Lolita means a young girl who has a very sexual appearance or behaves in a very sexual way. Takashi Morinozuka, aka Mori. He's kind of just there for the vibes, and he's always seen next to Honey. So, wherever Honey is, Mori is. And Tamaki describes him as being the strong and silent type. And finally, we have the twins, Hikaru and Karu. If they had uteruses, they would be synced up every month down to the millisecond. Tamaki describes them as being the mischievous types. Haruhi breaks an expensive vase, which he cannot afford to replace because he's at Ouran on a scholarship, which implies that he cannot afford to attend the school out of pocket. Sounds like you need to get your money up, son. So, the host club forces Haruhi to become their errand boy. At one point, the other hosts realize that Haruhi has beautiful eyes hidden behind their glasses, and they train him to be a host instead. I feel like I've been talking for too long, so I'm just gonna speed run through the rest of this episode. There's this one chick named Princess I always fuck up her name. Ayana Koji. Princess Ayana Koji. I got it. So there's this one chick named Princess Ayana Koji that was jealous of Haruhi because Tamaki kept giving him so much attention, blah, 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 blah. Whatever. That gets resolved. And then at the very end of the episode, the hosts find out that Haruhi is actually a girl, which is actually something that was sort of hinted throughout the entire episode. It was building up, whatever. It was hinted throughout the entire episode, and that was the grand reveal. Now that you know what happens in the first episode, here's what I didn't like about it. All right, so this episode introduces the ways that the hosts entertain their guests during business hours. When I think of Tamaki's hosting style, I think of the Fortnite default dance because I consider his style to be very generic. He is literally the physical embodiment of boyfriend ASMR videos. When the twins host, they really lean into that brotherly love role to the point where it's vomit inducing. I don't hate the twins as characters, and I know that they're playing it up for an audience, but the girls that request them are just outing themselves at this point. You're not slick. Let me see your search history real quick. Let's get to the bottom of this. Also, the whole ugly until they take off their glasses trope is something that I actually haven't seen done unironically in such a long time that I actually forgot how cringe it is. Ooh, look at that. See, don't I look prettier without my glasses? Yeah, that's the whole point, right? I can't read the script at all anymore. You know, look on the bright side, I look cute, don't I? Yeah, I'm never gonna get contacts. The idea of having to poke my eyeballs just to see every single day, that doesn't sound appealing at all. Also, I heard that contacts can kind of like travel in the back of your eyes if you sleep with them in by accident. I'll stick to these, thank you. But this episode wasn't all bad though. I intentionally left out Honey and Mori because I actually don't mind how they host. Calling Honey a boy Lolita makes me physically ill, yeah, whatever. But it's executed somewhat tastefully in the show. Mori basically acts like a single dad, and Honey acts like a child, which could arguably be seen as cute if you just forget that Honey is 17 years old. Either way, they're not really sexualizing themselves, and the clients seem to enjoy like the innocence behind it all, so I guess it's okay. Also, I don't have a problem with Tamaki's hosting style, by the way. It's just a little cringy, but cringe isn't a crime. It's not bad. Whatever. It is what it is. It's, you know, I think at one point Kelia mentions that Tamaki's request rate amongst like the clients is 70%, because it's such a broad like hosting style. It appeals to anybody and everybody. Very vanilla, if you will. So, you know, well, of course a lot of people are going to be into that. It is what it is. I'm not knocking it at all. I mean, I was, but not really, you know. Haruhi's hosting style is so genuine that she's a natural at being a host, so no complaints from me here. I guess I really just don't like the twins. Also, Kelia, he doesn't really host at all, I don't think. He's kind of just there for the vibes as well. He's sort of like the vice president secretary kind of guy. So, you know, he's around and, you know, he talks and engages with the clients, but he's not actually like hosting. Overall, I gave this episode an 8 out of 10, which is high, but like I said, it's an iconic first episode. Since we've covered all of the foundational stuff, I'm going to try to speed things along from here and keep the explanations really short and sweet.
The job of a high school host.
This episode is about Kaneko, a client that regularly visits the host club. She has this condition called the host hopping disease, meaning that she regularly switches who her favorite host is amongst the club. Kaneko chooses Haruhi as their new favorite, which Tamaki sulks about since he was Kaneko's last favorite host. It's revealed later that Kaneko is host hopping because she wants to grab the attention of another boy that she's technically already engaged to, but he's studying abroad soon, so he's gonna be gone and blah blah blah. I don't know, that situation's weird. Anyways, the host club is also simultaneously around this time hosting some sort of formal party, and that night Tamaki makes it their mission to make sure that Kaneko and that dude end up together or whatever. All right, so by the way, their plan sucks, by the way. A lot of the times when the host club is meddling in other people's business, their plans suck, and it's mostly because Tamaki's the one that's coming up with them in the first place. So it's always a flop. But, you know, somehow, even though the initial plan sucks, some unexpected thing happens, and then suddenly the plan works. It's very weird. Happens like clockwork every single time. Their weird-ass plan eventually works. Everyone's happy. The end. At least that's what I would say if that were true. But actually there's somebody who ends up very, very miserable at the end of this night. So let's rewind for a second, okay? So at the beginning of the party, there was a formal dance contest, and the best dancer gets a kiss on the cheek from Tamaki. After the host set up a happy ending for Kaneko, the host also dubbed her the winner of that contest. Instead of Tamaki giving the kiss, the other hosts blackmail Haruhi into giving the kiss instead. Because Tamaki is a dumbass, he tried to stop Haruhi from kissing Kaneko on the cheek, but then he ends up slipping and pushing Haruhi into Kaneko, and she ends up kissing Kaneko on the lips instead. And just to add fuel to the fire, that was Haruhi's first kiss. Tamaki's traditional outlook on women is easily like the most annoying thing about this episode, and pretty much the most annoying thing about this entire series. When Kaneko declared Haruhi her favorite host, Tamaki was so infuriated at the idea of girls being into Haruhi.
Huh? I don't understand how you could be so popular with the ladies when you yourself are a lady!
His disdain for sapphic relationships is so irritating throughout this show, and his character really sucks. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. I also found the formal party itself to be weird because there are only 7 hosts in the club, and so that means that only 7 girls are able to dance on the dance floor at a time, which is awkward because the majority of the guests are kind of just sitting on the sidelines and watching those 7 people dance, and that's pretty much the entire party. Overall, I gave this episode a 4 out of 10 because, I'm gonna be honest, I was bored. Okay? Like, it's a very skippable episode. Technically, the kiss does come up again in a later episode, and you would know the context behind it if you skipped this episode. But I'm gonna be honest, the episode that the kiss reappears in is also skippable. So, yeah, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. All right, I'll explain that later. Beware the physical exam. Ouran Academy has a physical exam every year, and the hosts realize that the whole school is going to find out that Haruhi is a girl, and so they try to do everything that they can to prevent that. There's also this sketchy dude dressed like a doctor that was like roaming around the exam site throughout the episode, and it's later revealed that he has a father that's trying to find his daughter because she goes to Ouran. Kelia does some sleuthing and realizes that his daughter actually goes to Ouran Public High School and not Ouran Academy. That got resolved eventually. Also, Kelia sets up a special room for Haruhi to take her physical exam because his family's medical company is in charge of the physical exams, so he was able to pull some strings, which is actually a common thing throughout this entire series. Like, Kelia always knows a guy that knows a guy that knows a guy that knows a guy that knows a guy. This episode delivered some very unfortunate dialogue. The physical exam was basically just another way for the girls to kind of check out the host club boys because they had their shirts off to do their exams. And at one point, the twins say something to each other about playing doctor with each other and tickling each other and toying with each other's bodies. That wasn't fun to listen to at all, actually. Also, one of the twins sucked the other one's finger at the beginning of the episode, so, you know, they just really weren't holding back at all. Like, they really had it up to a 10 this episode. Yeah, so that you know, didn't have a great time because of that. Also, Tamaki was still being annoying about Haruhi being more feminine, but what else is new? Hey, let's look on the bright side. This was the episode that gave us the iconic homosexual supporting cast line.
This anime is obviously a romantic school comedy. Haruhi and I are the main characters, so that means we are love interests. Yeah, then what are we? You boys are the homosexual supporting cast. So please make sure that you don't step across this line. You've gotta be kidding.
Which is easily like one of the funniest moments of the show. Also, the person who voices the creepy doctor dude that was roaming around the exam site, he also voices Psyche K's dad. I don't think I mentioned this before, but I watched Ouran High School Host Club in English dub because that's the first time I ever watched the show was in English dub, and so that's how I've always seen the show, and I didn't really feel like switching to Japanese dub just for this video. The English dub voice actors did great in this series, by the way. I've seen some of the Japanese dub version, and they did great too, obviously, duh. Anyway, so I'd give this episode a 5 out of 10, honestly. Again, I was bored, alright? That's plain and simple. This is definitely a skippable episode, but it's slightly better than the last one because of the homosexual supporting cast line alone. Just the delivery, it's really good. One of the few moments where I actually liked Tamaki. Attack of the Lady Manager. It's the renge episode! Let's go! Are you excited? I'm excited. So, this girl named Renge is obsessed with video games and falls in love with one of the characters that looks and sounds almost exactly like Kelia. When she sees a picture of Kelia that her dad brought to her after a business trip, she immediately enrolls in Ouran Academy. She's able to do this because her family's filthy rich and lets her do whatever she wants. Must be nice. When she gets to Ouran, she criticizes the other hosts and declares herself to be Kelia's fiance. She genuinely believes that Kelia is this affectionate guy because of the video game, which is ironic because Kelia is the exact opposite of that. Basically, the entire episode is Renge revamping the host's image because she thinks that their tropes need a dark backstory. She goes to the nines, by the way, for this, by hiring Hollywood filmmakers to create this movie based around the hosts and their new personalities. So Honey becomes like this babyface thug character, and Mori is just his sidekick or something. The twins are now basketball players enslaved in their own world. Haruhi is like an honor student that gets bullied, and Tamaki is this lonely prince character. So basically just a more visibly sadder version of himself. And Kelia is just Kelia. She says verbatim, he's perfect just the way that he is. Well, I don't know if that's verbatim. I need to stop saying verbatim when I'm really just paraphrasing. Chaos eventually enters the set because Renge randomly drags some thuggish looking students into the movie without their consent. So they lash out, Haruhi shields Renge and gets hurt, Tamaki steps in to save Haruhi, blah 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 blah. Kyoya smashes a film camera because he didn't want a video of the hosts being in dangerous situations, which makes Renge realize that Kyoya is nothing like the video game character that she fell in love with.
I think you've caused enough trouble around here, Renge. Please stop being such a pest.
Haruhi tells Renge about the importance of getting to know someone slowly, which causes Renge to fall for Haruhi. I'm gonna be honest, I love this episode. Renge is one of my favorite characters in the show because she is such a good plot pusher. Her character only gets better from here. Like, I swear, she's great. She's great. This episode also highlights Kyoya as a character, which is always a good thing in my eyes because I think that he's like legit one of the best members, if not the best member of the entire club. Whenever something chaotic is happening, Kyoya just sits back and watches, and sometimes he even like slightly encourages it, which is like so funny. He's like super nonchalant and won't intervene in any of the issues or chaos or whatever unless it directly impacts something that he cares about, like for example him smashing the film camera to protect the reputation of the host club. Overall, he's great and I love him dearly. My only issue with this episode is of course rooted in Tamaki's actions. The only reason why Renge was even allowed to be a manager for the host club at all was because he believed that having a girl around all the time would trigger Haruhi's femininity. He really cannot let that go, can he? Overall, this episode gets a 7 out of 10. Finally, a solid episode. If I'm remembering correctly, I think the latter half of the series has like more consistently high ratings. Sorry, spoiler alert. The twins fight. The twins play this game called the Which One's Hikaru game, and apparently nobody gets it right for some reason, even though there's a 50-50 chance of guessing correctly. The math isn't mathing, but I guess statistically that is possible. Unlikely, but still possible. Haruhi walks in on them playing the game with some clients and immediately knows which is which because she thinks that Kaoru is a bit more mischievous than Hikaru. This comment causes the twins to start verbally attacking each other and start fighting. The whole episode showcases all of the petty ways that the twins get at each other, and it causes everyone around them to get dragged into their mess. Eventually, it gets to a point where Kaoru buys a cursed doll from the Black Magic Club to use against Hikaru. Haruhi intervenes at this point and says that they should make up or else she won't invite them to her house. Sounds random, right? Let's rewind for a second. So at the very beginning of the episode, the twins expressed interest in visiting Haruhi at her house, and she quickly shuts that shit down. So when Haruhi said that, you know, they had to make up or else they wouldn't be invited to her house, the twins creepily smile at that because they had set up the fight from the very beginning, and Haruhi just unknowingly gave them exactly what they wanted the entire time. I know I haven't been the warmest towards the twins in this video, but I actually genuinely enjoyed this episode. The fights were silly, and I like seeing the twins interact with each other in a way that doesn't make my skeleton want to crawl out of its meat suit. At the end of the episode, Haruhi correctly states which twin is which, despite them lying to the clients about who was who, and that actually ended up triggering some lore hints about the twins. Kaoru has said that all their lives there have been two groups of people, them and everyone else. Haruhi is the first person to cross that line and enter their world. It's kind of cute, I'm not gonna lie. Tamaki also mentioned that the twins have never fought before and that they've always kept people at a distance. And so yeah, this is the first time that some depth is introduced into their characters, and I like seeing this side of the twins. More of this, please. I only briefly mentioned the Black Magic Club in my synopsis, but one of my top 3 favorite characters in this show is in the Black Magic Club. Nekozawa is the president of the Black Magic Club, and there's this creepy black door that occasionally appears in the host club room when he's in an episode.
Why is he talking to us through a crack in the door?
Wait a second, has that door always been there?
Mind you, any other episode you do not see this door. This door does not exist unless Nekozawa is going to be present. I think his character is also so funny juxtaposed to the host club because like the host club's all bright and like happy, shiny, and then there's just like this dark creepy dude just kind of just lingering around, and it's just he's so hilarious. I love him. Also Belzebub, his cursed puppet doll, so cute, and it's on my bucket list actually to crochet a cat hat with Belzebub's face on it. Like that's just like that's on my list. I need to do that. Haven't gotten around to it yet, but I'm gonna do it. Mark my words. Unfortunately, this episode isn't perfect. Haruhi at one point tells the twins that she doesn't understand their appeal, and the twins state that ladies love a couple of guys with homosexual tendencies, which means that they're basically profiting off of girls that fetishize gay men. They also add that the tabooness of their relationship makes them more intriguing to people. I guess that's one way to describe it. It's not the right way, but it's a way. Overall, this episode earned a 9 out of 10, which is like my highest rating so far. I know, stop looking at me like that. I know. Listen, when I started rating these episodes, I rated the episodes directly after watching them in chronological order, okay? So it's not like I watched all the episodes and then went back and rated them. So at this point, through my rewatching, episode 5 was like the best episode to me in comparison to episode 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's why it's super duper high. At this point, now that I've watched the series overall, I would probably rate this more like a 7, but I didn't, don't worry about it. It's a 9 out of 10. I wrote 9 out of 10, so it's a 9 out of 10. Don't fight with your demons about that. Don't fight with me. But at the same time, though, even though I said that, feel free to let me know, like, what you would rate the episode if you've seen the episode. Are you watching this video? You've never seen the show before? I mean, you can. I'm going in detail about what happens in each episode, so it's like you don't absolutely have to watch it all, but like, getting thirsty. I'm doing a lot of talking. I'm 40 minutes into this recording, and I'm only on episode 5 out of 26. Whew, I'm losing it. Also, not to spoil anything, but there is an episode down the line that actually does get a solid 10 out of 10. So yes, this is super duper high, but it's not the highest rating that I'm going to be giving. So stay tuned for that. I wonder if you can guess which episode's my favorite. I made it easier for you by saying that it's not the first 5 episodes. So I wonder if you can guess.
The grade school host is the naughty type.
The episode starts with an elementary school boy named Shiro, and he looks like a miniature version of Levi Ackerman. He enters the host club and begs to become an apprentice, and so, Tamaki takes him in and teaches him the ropes of hosting. At one point, Renge even steps in and gives him a trope. The naughty type. Eventually, the hosts find out that Shiro didn't want to be a host to please women in general, but wanted to please a specific girl. Shiro and the girl are in classical music club together at their respective school. The girl is apparently moving away soon, so Shiro wanted to tell her how he felt. Things sort of work out in the end, kind of. Not really. Tamaki offered to help Shiro practice the piano so he can confidently play with the girl that he likes, but the girl ended up moving away at the end of the episode anyway, so yeah. She still left. I don't know, whatever. Listen, dude, you're like, what, 10, 11 years old? You'll get over her. The episode ends with Shiro entertaining clients at the host club, which made it seem like he was going to be a new host member, but thankfully that's not what happens. So there's a lot to unpack here. First of all, the fact that Tamaki was so quick to take Shiro in as an apprentice was just ick, on top of the fact that he believes that love has nothing to do with age. Just blatantly taking a page out of the R. Kelly guidebook. It's one thing to have like an age-appropriate host that's acting like a child, but it's a whole other thing to have an actual child become a host. When hosting, the girls fawned over Shiro, gave him kisses on the cheek, and even said that they wish that they had a brother just like him. Let me break some people's hearts here for a second. I have a younger brother, and I can say for certainty that having a bratty younger sibling is not worth the hype. Luckily, my brother was not that bad, but still, he pissed me off sometimes, so I doubt the girls could handle someone like Shiro. But on the bright side, Shiro seemed to be just as disturbed by the host club as the average viewer would be. Like, for example, the twins freaked him out, as it should. They are weird. This episode got a 5 out of 10. Shiro as a standalone character is fine, but his role in the show was. Yeah, it was. That's all I can say about that. It was.
Jungle Pool SOS.
The hosts take a vacation at Kyoya's family's theme park, which is a tropical dome-looking place. It's a way to enjoy a tropical vacation without actually having to leave Japan. If America invested in something like that, then maybe we can all stop going to Hawaii. Seriously, they don't want us there. Stop going to Hawaii. This episode focuses on Honey and how he is not as innocent of a character as people think. Honey has been acting extra cute lately because he felt like his role in the host club was threatened when Shiro was present in the last episode. While swimming in the wave pool, the twins twins and Tamaki were being idiots and broke the wave machine, which caused Honey to get swept away by a huge wave. The hosts try to get him back. Kyoya calls his family's private police force to step in. Misunderstandings caused the police force to attack Haruhi and Mori, blah, 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 blah. Honey is a martial arts master. And that's it, pretty much, the end. Sorry, that was kind of bad. We would be here all day if I really dissected these episodes, so I'm trying to keep these as brief as humanly possible. Naturally, my source of frustration from this episode stems from Tamaki. It's always Tamaki's fault. I really did not think that I disliked Tamaki as a character this much until I rewatched the show. Like, he is actually so annoying. I don't know why I was being so nice to him before, because, like, I don't know, if you asked, like, 14-year-old me how I felt about Tamaki, I probably wouldn't have said anything negative, really. Me as a 21-year-old, I am just like, my eyes are open. The twins try to help Haruhi pick out a swimsuit so she could enjoy the vacation to the fullest. Haruhi ends up picking up a pretty conservative swimsuit, if I do say so myself. I am saying it myself. Here's me saying it right now. Here. Tamaki still thinks that what she was wearing was showing too much skin and made her wear a hoodie. He is so traditional that it's annoying. But here's the kicker. Renge shows up at one point, which, by the way, I applaud her ability to just make a grand entrance regardless of the location. Anywhere and any time you hear loud rumbling and she is just being hoisted up on a large platform, and there she is, just ta-da. Like, she's so cool. I love her. Seriously, how do you watch the show and not like Renge? Doesn't make any sense to me. Renge shows up and she is wearing a bikini. The twins question Tamaki about Renge's appearance because she's wearing a swimsuit, right? That's showing a lot of skin, mind you. So the twins question Tamaki about Renge's appearance since he seemed to have no issue with what Renge was wearing, despite the fact that she was wearing a bikini. Apparently Renge was in cosplay because of like some weird tattoo that she had on her stomach. And so because Renge was cosplaying, Tamaki didn't really see any issue with that. And honestly, even as he was like trying to rationalize it in his head, he was like, yeah, she's in cosplay, so that's fine, I guess. He doesn't even seem sure about his own damn rules. Like, he is so annoying. Also, this episode gives us a little bit of lore about Mori and Honey's relationship. So Mori and Honey are actually cousins, and they're related by marriage. Apparently their families used to have this master-servant kind of relationship until a couple generations ago, when I guess some members of the family got married. So Mori has a natural sense of loyalty because of that family history. Honey and Mori are also my favorite duo in the show, and I love them so much. Like, this episode was so cute. Overall, this episode got an 8 out of 10 from me because any episode that focuses on Honey and Mori is a hit in my household. They could be watching paint dry for all I care. So the twins mentioned at the very end of the episode that they wanted to go to the beach for their next vacation, and everyone seemed to like that idea, except for me. I don't like that idea. I know what happens at the beach, all right? The beach episode that's the episode that I have been dreading throughout this entire rewatch. I'm not a fan of the beach episode. Nobody's a fan of the beach episode. Yeah, surely the episode's not going to be happening anytime soon.
The Sun, the Sea, and the Host Club.
Oh. It's time for the beach episode. Basically, the host club is operating in Okinawa at Kyoya's family's private beach. This is not technically a vacation since the clients are also there. At one point, the hosts make up a game because they want to try to figure out what Haruhi's fear is, because she doesn't really seem to be scared of things that girls are typically scared of. They all fail. Every single one of them. Nobody figures it out. At one point of the episode, these two guys, who were definitely not supposed to be on the beach, by the way, were harassing some of the clients. Haruhi steps in to protect them, but ends up getting thrown off a cliff and into the ocean. Tamaki, of course, jumps in to save Haruhi, and boy, oh boy, was he pissed. Sure, he was angry at the guys for being there and disrupting the peace, but he was also furious with Haruhi for intervening in the first place. Haruhi does not see why she's the bad guy for trying to help, so Tamaki gives her the silent treatment until she apologizes to him. Night falls and the host club returns to their beach house for the night. Due to a series of unfortunate events, Haruhi ends up in Kyoya's room, and you know what? I'll circle back to that later. Haruhi realizes that the rest of the hosts were really worried about her safety, which justifies Tamaki's actions in her mind. When Haruhi was about to apologize to Tamaki, lightning crackled outside, and that revealed what Haruhi's fear was. Thunderstorms. Tamaki and Haruhi have sort of a wholesome moment for a second, and yeah, that's pretty much what happens in that episode. Well, sort of. I left out a few things on purpose because we really need to dissect these two scenes to their fullest extent. First, I'm going to circle back to the fight that Tamaki and Haruhi had after the whole altercation. Tamaki was upset because he believes that girls cannot physically defend themselves against boys, so her going after those boys seemed like a losing battle in his eyes. Statistically speaking, Tamaki is right, but like the way he phrased his concern was rooted in generalizations. You know, it just felt low-key misogynistic. I don't know. He mentioned that Haruhi was not a martial artist like Honey, which made me realize that his heart was technically in the right place when he was having this whole argument with Haruhi, but it really just didn't come out right. It felt so, ugh. So, we have to talk about it. I would like to preface this, though, by saying that I still like Kyoya despite this scene. Hannah Montana said it best, nobody's perfect. And truthfully, this scene could have been a lot worse. So, glass half full. During dinner, Haruhi ate a shit ton of crab legs, which made her stomach hurt, so she had to run to the closest bathroom to go take care of that. By the way, the animation for the crab legs, oh my god, like, it's gonna be on the screen. Look at that. Look at that. Every single time I watch that scene, I crave crab. I'm craving them right now, actually. Haruhi ran into the closest bathroom, which ended up being the bathroom in Kyoya's room. At this point, Haruhi had realized that she had worried the other hosts, and so she apologized to Kyoya. Kyoya then states that he wasn't really worried about her, but was more worried about the technicalities of the situation, like the fact that he had to remove the trespassers and send flowers to the clients that were involved in the first place. Haruhi offers to pay him back for the flowers, but Kyoya knew that Haruhi doesn't even sort of have the funds to pay him back, at least not with money. Yeah, so instead, he proposes that she pay him back with her body. So yeah, so Kyoya overpowers Haruhi in bed in a non-con kind of way, which is morally wrong, but I don't know. Some people are into that kind of thing. Not me, though. Haruhi realizes that Kyoya was only reinforcing what Tamaki was saying earlier about not being able to defend herself against a man, and she knew that Kyoya wouldn't actually do anything to her. This scene played out the best way that it possibly could, but, you know, it was still scary to watch, especially since Kyoya, it looks very intimidating. But, like I said, some people could hypothetically be into that sort of thing and watch that scene and didn't see anything wrong with it, so not that I'm one of those people. Not me. I'm joking. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. 2 out of 10. Yeah, my peace was disturbed throughout this entire episode. No, you deserve nothing. 2 out of 10.
A challenge from Lobelia Girls Academy.
Oh! This episode was a damn mess. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. Alright, long story short, there's an all-women's school with like an equivalent of the host club, and they called their host club the Zuka Club. So they realize that Haruhi is a girl and they want to save her from the host club. The entire episode is basically the host club trying to keep Haruhi at Ouran Academy, and Haruhi eventually says that she was never intending on leaving Ouran. So yeah, whatever. The Zuka Club vows to save Haruhi, which basically confirms that this episode was not a one and done thing, which means that they do come back. So yeah, listen, there are so many red flags in this episode, and honestly don't know where to start. Tamaki's blatant homophobia towards lesbians was just in full swing the entire time.
You girls have it all wrong! Don't you see there's nothing to be gained in a romantic relationship between two women? If that were the case, then why did God create Adam and Eve?
And that wasn't even the worst thing that happened in that episode. At one point, the Zuka Club does a salute of sorts that was popular amongst an infamous group of people in the mid-1900s, which is not good. I'm so over it. 1 out of 10. Lobelia fucking sucks, man. I don't like them.
A day in the life of the Fujioka family.
The hosts visit Haruhi's home during the weekend. They also meet Haruhi's father, Renka Fujioka, who is trans. The entire episode just showcases how independent Haruhi is and always has been throughout her entire life, basically. Yeah, that's pretty much the entire episode. Shortest summary to date, not much really happens. My only issue with this episode is the use of the T-slur towards Renka. Otherwise, this episode was full of jokes that were unintentionally at Haruhi's expense because she's not rich.
Be careful! That light bulb's just hanging from the ceiling!
This place is quite unpleasant, but I think I may have underestimated commoner housing. I know it's a tight fit in here, men, but just pull your knees in and sit gym style. Commoners have specially developed this position to conserve space.
Also, Renka and Tamaki are exactly alike, mannerism-wise, but Renka doesn't like Tamaki because at one point, Renka, when he comes home, or he or she, actually, what are Renka's pronouns? I think they go by both. I'll default to they, them for now. So at one point, Renka walks into their home, right? And they find Tamaki on top of Haruhi, which was just a blatant misunderstanding because Tamaki like tripped or something. I don't know. Caught them in a very compromising position. And so from that moment forward, just Renka, not a big fan of Tamaki. So this episode gets a 5 out of 10 from me because I love Renka. Renka's such a cool character. And honestly, this episode would have been pretty decent if the T slur just wasn't involved at all.
Big Brother is a prince.
I'm gonna say it right now. I really love this episode. I deserve to have a good episode because there have just been back-to-back misses. Basically, this little girl named Kirimi is longing for her big brother because she believes that he is a prince that could save her from stuff. I don't know. The only thing that Kirimi knows about her brother is that he has blonde hair like her. Do you see where this is going? Because I see where this is going. She mistakenly believes that Tamaki is her brother, and for a second, Tamaki just plays the role. Then the hosts find out that Nekozawa, the Black Magic Club guy, is actually her brother. Kirimi and Nekozawa have been separated for so long because Kirimi is scared of the dark, and Nekozawa operates on vampire rules, so he refuses to go in the light unless he's wearing like dark clothes, which is terrifying to Kirimi. The entire episode is basically the host trying to help Nekozawa overcome his fear so he can be a good brother for Kirimi. After many failed attempts, because of course their plans never work, Kirimi was caught in a dangerous situation because a cat was in front of her, just looking at her, and she's scared of cats. So Nekozawa literally jumps out of a fucking window just to say, like, I'm not kidding. Honestly, that was pretty badass. I'm not even gonna lie. And Kirimi realizes that Nekozawa is the brave big brother that she was looking for this entire time. I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I have anything negative to say about this episode. At one point, one of Nekozawa's servants said that Kirimi and Nekozawa are just like Romeo and Juliet. Thankfully, Haruhi calls out the obvious flawed comparison, and the servant says that she just made that shit up on the fly, and they don't actually believe that. Thank God for that. Overall, 7 out of 10. I love the wholesome interactions between Nekozawa and Kirimi. Plus, Tamaki didn't say anything that made me want to do a cartwheel off the Golden Gate Bridge, which is always a bonus in my book. I don't want to hate Tamaki, I really don't, but he makes it so easy.
Honey's 3 Bitter Days.
If I haven't said it before, I'm gonna say it again. I love all Honey and Mori episodes. I know I've said this before, but I'm saying it. Whatever. Honey ends up with a cavity and cannot eat snacks and sweets until the cavity heals. This is basically Honey's Vietnam. Mori was extra harsh on Honey during his recovery, which eventually makes Honey lash out on Mori for being so mean to him. Honey went as far as to say that he hated Mori. Like, that's how deep this issue ran. Haruhi realizes that Mori was being so harsh to Honey because he wanted Honey to punish him. Apparently, Mori forgot to remind Honey to brush his teeth before taking a nap, which caused Honey to get the cavity in the first place. Basically, Mori blames himself for the entire ordeal, and yeah, that's so sad. Honey heard Mori's whole confession, and then he apologizes to him for being negligent about brushing his teeth. The end. That's it. That's all that happens. Again, I don't think I have anything negative to say about this episode. Like, it's always nice being positive for once. The beginning of the episode was kind of funny because the twins, or Tamaki, I don't know, who cares? Maybe it was all 3 of them. Who knows? Whatever. They spilled tea on Usa-chan. That's not a good thing, because Usa-chan is Honey's prized possession. And mine too. Honestly, look at him. He's so cute. So they needed to fix this mess before Honey woke up from his nap, but they also needed to stay quiet because Honey is not friendly when he is awoken prematurely from his naps. Apparently, Kelia and Honey have the same blood type, which is AB, and apparently that is the blood type of people with split personality, which is just a superstition.
And there's other evidence that Honey Senpai has an evil side to him. Listen to this. His blood type is AB. How do you like that?
Yeah, so what?
But how do he... That means he's the same blood type as Kyoya.
What's the matter? Do you guys have a problem with my blood type?
Oh, those of you watching with type AB, please don't take any offense to this.
I don't even know what my blood type is. Every time I ask my parents what my blood type is, they don't even know either. I hope I don't need a kidney from any of you, because y'all clearly don't seem to be prepared. Mori diffuses the situation very quickly, which shows that, like, Mori looks out for Honey all the time. Like, he knows exactly what to do.
Who's responsible for this? Who got Usa-chan dirty?
Someone help! Mori-senpai! Don't let him hurt us!
He wanted tea, so Usa-chan decided to have a drink.
I see. So that's why his face is all dirty, isn't it? Hey, do you think he wants some cake too?
They're so cute. Renge also shows up at one point to emphasize the fact that Honey and Mori's appeal comes from moe, which means strong feelings of affection or something endearing in general. That's pretty much why I love them as characters, I think. My mom believes that I have no soul, but my love for Honey and Mori proves that I do have a soul. There's something in here. All right, I'm not the Grinch. Also, Kyoya was enjoying the time that Honey couldn't eat snacks because the snacks are apparently really expensive. So he enjoyed not having to budget that into the host club's finances. When Honey finally recovered from the cavity, you could visibly see how distressed Kyoya was while like crunching numbers on like a calculator or something. Like he's poor guy. This episode easily 9 out of 10. Easy. Any Honey and Mori episode is a good episode in my eyes. It's almost perfect. Almost. Like I said, there's an episode out there that has a perfect score. Have you guessed yet?
Haruhi and Wonderland.
Hey Alexa, play Halfway There by Big Time Rush. I don't have an Alexa. This is episode 13, which means we're halfway through the series. Let's go. So this episode takes place in Haruhi's subconscious because it's all a dream. Ooh. It's kind of a flashback episode because it shows the admission interview that Haruhi did when she first enrolled in Ouran Academy. A lot of characters from past episodes reappear in this Alice in Wonderland themed dream that Haruhi is having. The host club members represent like major characters in Alice in Wonderland, if you're familiar with that story. Kyoya is the stoner worm guy. The twins were the the cat. They're the fucking cat. Wow, I never realized I could never say it. Cheshire. Cheshire. Right? Oh my god. That's so embarrassing. Anyway, Tamaki's the Mad Hatter, and Honey and Mori were part of like the Mad Hatter squad, if you remember who they were, because I don't know who they were. Renge was also some rich lady in the dream. I don't know. Throughout this episode, Haruhi says things to the characters that implies that she knows them, even though this dream is about the past. So that means that she hasn't actually met the host club at this point. When Haruhi finds Tamaki, Honey, and Mori, Haruhi makes this comment about Honey getting a cavity because he was eating sweets. We, the audience, know that's a callback to the last episode, but the dream is about the past, so Haruhi shouldn't have known that. In fact, technically, it hadn't happened yet.
My name. How do you know it?
Yes, how is it that you know his name? However do you know it?
How do I know?
Yeah, and somehow you knew we were twins.
And about my little black book, lest we forget.
And about my cavity.
How is that?
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 Very weird, very kind of meta. Is meta the right word? I don't know. It's the right word now. It's trippy. Trippy's a better word. Very trippy. I'm gonna tell you right now. This is the only episode that earned a 10 out of 10. I loved everything about this episode. I was so excited to get to the Alice in Wonderland episode. I literally stated that in my notes. What did I say? Alice in Wonderland episode, yes. All caps, exclamation points. And I didn't type out my notes, y'all. These are handwritten notes. I had to all caps myself. I really wanted to emphasize how excited I was about this episode. Not sponsored, but purely sweet tea. Love of my life. Only the extra sweet one, though. The regular sweet tea, they don't know what sweet tea is. Maybe it's because I'm from the South, and I like drinking diabetic tea, but like their regular sweet tea is not sweet enough. This episode showed Haruhi that she has made so many good friends and that there's more to life than studying. It's just, it's so sweet. I love the episode. I'm getting all smiley while thinking about it. I might go and rewatch the episode after this. I don't even care. It's my favorite episode in this entire series. Love it so much.
Covering the famous host club.
The newspaper club is in its flop era because their newspaper is basically ouran's version of TMZ. Tamaki sympathizes with the newspaper club and wants to help them get back on their feet, but the other hosts don't want to help them. They see it as a lost cause, honestly. It takes a lot of convincing, but eventually Tamaki does get the rest of the hosts on board. Tamaki feels bad for the newspaper club because he sees the host club as a family, and the newspaper club's family is breaking up and fears the idea of the host club suffering the same fate. Tamaki lets the newspaper club write about the host club as a way to give them some content. Down the line, it's revealed that the newspaper club does not have good intentions behind their writing and that the president wanted to write a hit piece on Tamaki. The president believes that Tamaki has a secret dark side for some reason, which is not true. We all know it's not true. The president was really hell-bent on destroying Tamaki's popularity and reputation. Apparently, the newspaper club was created because the president wanted to become popular himself, but Tamaki transferred in and stole all of his bitches. He's pissed about that. The hosts, except for Tamaki and Haruhi, caught their confession about what they were writing about on tape thanks to Kyoya, and they blackmailed them into not writing anything negative about Tamaki. That's pretty much it. This episode revealed some lore about Tamaki. Apparently, he was an only child that did not have friends his age. He's so childish now because he never had the chance to live a normal childhood because his mother was constantly sick, so he spent most of his time helping her. Also, the chairman of Ouran Academy is Tamaki's dad, so Haruhi was only allowed to attend this school because of Tamaki's family, and yeah, she wasn't really eager to learn that. 6.5 out of 10. It was kind of boring, I'm not gonna lie, but the intervention scene at the end, honestly, it was just really good. I like seeing the hosts coming together to defend one of their own, even if it is Tamaki, so it was sweet. I liked it.
The refreshing battle at Karuizawa.
Before we get started, I need to show you something. This is a plot diagram. When constructing a good narrative, stories should generally follow this flow of events. Episode 15 pretty much represents the beginning portion of this diagram. The story being told is explained in 2 parts, so basically this episode sets up what ends up happening in episode 16. Keep this in mind. It's summer vacation and Haruhi is working at a bed and breakfast. The hosts track her down and bother Haruhi while she's working because of course they do if they have nothing better to do with their lives. There's only one available room left at the bed and breakfast that she's working at, so the hosts participate in a contest. Whoever helps out the establishment the best gets to stay the night. I'm not gonna bore you with the details about the contest, but long story short, the twins win. Tamaki was still sulking around the bed and breakfast even though he lost, so yeah, he didn't actually technically stay there, but he was still around because he's like a parasite. Just wherever Haruhi is, he's there. The next day, Haruhi is serving the twins breakfast when a boy enters the room. Haruhi and the boy, named Arai, kind of have a moment for a second, and it's this whole thing. And naturally, the twins and Tamaki sense that there's a history between them, and they freak out because yeah, that's pretty much the episode. All right, new slur unlocked. All right, the G slur was dropped during this episode, which was just lovely. The owner of the bed and breakfast is a friend of Haruhi's father, and they are also femme-presenting or trans, so you know what that means. That's right, the T slur, it's back, better than ever. Clap if you're excited. But on the right side, the voice of Arai is the same dub actor as Saiki K. And also that one kid from Assassination Classroom, but who cares about him? Saiki K! Saiki K and the host club in the same room? What is this, a crossover episode? Anyway, this episode earned a 4 out of 10 because it's boring as a standalone episode, but like I said, it's just setting up what happens in episode 16, so.
Operation Haruhi and Hikaru's first date.
Arai is an old friend from middle school, and the hosts are eating up all the stories of Haruhi from when she was in middle school. The twins are off to the side during this because Hikaru does not like Arai and is very vocal about that.
You're being unusually critical.
I'm just saying. It's obvious this guy has a thing for Haruhi.
It's sickening to watch him try and flirt.
Hikaru blows up at Haruhi for having other friends besides them, which is just very dramatic. Kaoru dresses up as Hikaru and apologizes to Arai, which Haruhi notices immediately, because of course she does. And Kaoru asks Haruhi out on a date to apologize for Hikaru's actions. This was a setup because Hikaru had no intention of going on that date to begin with. It was just a way to force Hikaru to go on a date with Haruhi and help him develop his emotions better. The other hosts stalk them during their date to make sure that things go well, which things didn't go well at first. Hikaru eventually got into the idea and had a good time with Haruhi. Throughout the episode, though, Haruhi hints about the weather and how it was going to rain soon. During the end of the date, they bumped into Arai again, which gets Hikaru all riled up again, and he ends up ditching Haruhi right as it was about to rain. When Tamaki hears that Hikaru abandoned Haruhi, he screamed at maybe not screamed, but he did yell. He yelled at Hikaru over the phone and forced him to go find Haruhi because she is scared of thunder. Remember that from the beach episode? I don't want to talk about the beach episode anymore. We've passed that bridge. I'm free. Hikaru finds Haruhi, apologizes to her, and later apologizes to Arai at the end of the episode. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I thought that it was funny when Haruhi realized that she broke Arai's heart in middle school, because that was one of the stories that Arai ended up telling the host club.
It's no big deal. He's right, I did have a thing for you once. But who cares? You already turned me down, right?
Why do you look so surprised?
Well, I didn't know.
Because Haruhi is so clueless and misunderstood what Arai was trying to say, she ended up accidentally rejecting him. Go rewatch that scene. It's so funny. This episode also shows Kaoru's maturity in comparison to Hikaru, because Kaoru seems to be more profound. I don't know, just like more acutely aware of things that's happening around them in comparison to Hikaru. And I think I said this before, but like I said, I like seeing the twins as individuals. This episode got a solid 7 out of 10 because, listen, I'm a slut for character development. Sorry, Mom. Sorry, Dad. Sorry. Anyway.
KeliasReluctant Day Out.
This episode starts with a sleepy Kelia waking up on a beach in the middle of a public place. The other hosts had heard about a commoner expo and dragged Kelia out with them despite not wanting to join them at all. They ended up dragging him out the house anyway, and Kelia woke up by himself on a bench, and he didn't even know where he was or how he got there for like a good solid 5 minutes. Then Kelia realized very quickly that he had no wallet on him and had no phone because the host just did not bother bringing any of his personal belongings. Luckily, Haruhi ends up strolling around because I guess she just decided to go to the expo. Yeah, the host wanted to go without Haruhi for some reason that I kind of forgot. Sorry about that. So yeah, Haruhi was not involved in the kidnapping of Kelia, but Haruhi luckily did end up going to the expo anyway, and she found Kelia. My mans was in a bad mood the entire time because he was hungry and mad at Tamaki.
Before you decide, we have a new shake that's absolutely...
I have given you my answer.
Please be sure to include our receipt.
Kelia tells Haruhi about his family a little bit since she asked. He has 2 older brothers that will pretty much inherit their family businesses, which means that Kelia isn't really left with much, if anything. Despite this, though, he holds no malice towards his family and actually finds the challenge of standing out to be exciting. Eventually, they find the other hosts towards like a pet store or something, and they continue to explore the expo. This episode is weirdly endearing to me because I love the dynamic between Haruhi and Kelia. Kelia acts like this soulless monster that only does things for his own personal gain, but he's more selfless deep down, and Haruhi can see that. At one point during the episode, Kelia stops a man from scamming this older woman with counterfeit goods. Kelia claimed that the only reason why he helped in the first place was because the woman was actually the wife of a CEO of a major electronics company, and he recognized her because of the very prominent ring that was on her finger. Later in the episode, Haruhi realizes that there was no way that Kelia could have seen the ring before he decided to help her out, because the ring was obstructed from their view from at least where they were standing. So Haruhi says that she doesn't understand why Kelia acts so tough all the time when being nice to him comes so naturally. Also throughout the episode, they say my favorite line in the entire series. I know I said the homosexual supporting cast was my favorite line. No, this is my favorite line. That's an intriguing notion in its own way. It's like pretty much Kyoya's catchphrase at this point. He says it like multiple times in this episode, and I think it comes up like a few other times in other episodes. But yeah, I don't know why I love it so much, but it's just, I don't know, maybe it's because they say it so often that it's like I've been conditioned to like it, but I really like that line for some reason. I don't know.
It just doesn't make sense. You go to all that trouble acting like you're such a big jerk when being a nice guy comes so naturally to you. It seems counterintuitive.
That's a very intriguing notion in its own way.
I did not God, I look greasy. I did not emphasize this in the video itself, so I'm gonna say it now. The ending scene for this episode is my favorite scene in the entire show because it has my favorite line in it, obviously. But I don't know, everything about it, just the vibes that was going on, I don't know, something about it, just, it rubs me in all the right, you know what, as I'm saying that out loud, that sounds weird. Point is, I love it, I love it, I love it, and I did not emphasize that enough to my liking in the video, so I'm doing it now. It's my favorite scene ever. It's not the best scene, but it is my favorite.
Oh, this episode got an 8 out of 10 because I love Kyoya, but don't mention the beach episode to me.
Chika's Down with Honey declaration.
Honey has a younger brother named Chika, and I'm sorry, I had to make this joke. I bet Chika's really good friends with a fox and a bunny and a bear. I'm sorry, it was low-hanging fruit, had to take it. Chika doesn't like Honey because he doesn't follow the family rules. Since their family values martial arts, a lot of vigorous training is present in their household. However, Honey has fallen off the wagon since joining the host club. A year ago, Honey used to be the captain of the karate club at Ouran, but Tamaki lured him out by bribing him with sweets and the opportunity to be his real self if he joined the host club. Chika does not like that he made that decision, and the two brothers challenged each other to a fight. Honey wins easily and happily returns to the host club. This episode was sort of a flashback episode that kind of showed why Honey and Mori got roped into the host club to begin with. It's like the 400th time I'm saying this. Any episode that, you know what, say it with me. Any episode that revolves around Honey and Mori is a good episode. Yes, thank you. Yes, good job, guys. Good job. The episode was cute. I liked it. The tidbit about Honey's full strength being so powerful that he's considered a lethal weapon was funny.
Rumor has it the referee that happened to be officiating was Japan's Secretary of Defense at the time, and he begged Honey-senpai to never fight in public again, at least not at his full potential.
And why would he do that?
If the world ever saw Honey-senpai's true abilities, they'd suspect Japan of possessing a weapon of mass destruction. The Secretary was afraid it might upset the UN, and then they would take it out on all of Japan.
How awful!
So Honey-senpai quit the karate club and decided to become a member of the host club.
And honestly, I enjoyed the light-hearted plot altogether. It was just nothing too serious. I liked it. 8 out of 10. I love Honey. Best character.
This is the first time in my life that I've been provoked to hit a woman.
They're back. So the hosts visit Haruhi at her home over the weekend, but she wasn't there. Renka, her dad, says that Lobelia Academy girls swept her away, so they all go undercover to get Haruhi back. Haruhi was roped into some weird-ass play that ended up being an excuse for the leader of the Zuka Club to steal Haruhi's first kiss as revenge against the host club. Thanks to Kyoya and his infinite connections, he managed to interrupt the play by projecting a picture of the kiss that happened in episode 2. Remember that episode? You know? The one that I said with the formal party, the one that I said was skippable. But I want to be honest, the episode that the kiss reappears in is also skippable. I don't blame you for forgetting. The Zuka Club was gagged at the photo, and I'm so over it. I don't care. This episode sucks. I hate the Zuka Club. The T-Slur returns. I was bored, period, the end, okay? However, there was one thing that I did kind of like about this episode. I did like how funny Haruhi was when she was trying to act, because she has no acting skills whatsoever. It was just so robotic. Oh, my Lord Frederick.
It looks as though she's playing the heroine of some sentimental tragedy, but...
My Lord Frederick!
She sounds like a robot. A boy
boring daikon radish.
Even as her father, I can't stand this.
Someone please make her stop.
How many times is she going to repeat that line?
There's no future for you in theater, Haruhi. I'm sorry. Despite all of this, I still gave this episode a 5 out of 10 because, hey, at least there wasn't any anti-Semitism. That is such a low bar, but here we are.
The door the twins opened.
Twins lore, twins lore, twins lore, twins lore, twins lore. The entire episode is about how Tamaki convinced the twins to join the host club. At first, the twins did not care about anyone or anything outside of each other, but Tamaki tries to befriend them. Yeah, they weren't warm to the idea at all. The twins make Tamaki play the Which One Is Hikaru game, and if Tamaki guesses correctly, then the twins would agree to join the host club. After tons of failed attempts, and even after the twins called off the game at one point, Tamaki guessed correctly because he was stalking them. I admire his persistence, I'm not gonna lie. Tamaki insists that the twins should explore a world outside of themselves, and that little speech, I guess, convinced the twins to join the club. Guess he warned them down. The twins have such an angsty backstory. All their lives, they wanted someone to know the difference between them, even though they do absolutely nothing to make themselves stand out from one another. They wear the same clothes, they talk at the same time, in the same cadence and frequencies, and they have the same hair. Like, they do nothing to stand out from one another. Tamaki even points out how contradictory they are because the twins know that the Which One Is Hikaru game is pointless, but they still feel disappointed when someone gets it wrong.
That doesn't make any sense.
It's contradictory. And what's wrong with that? Haven't you realized yet? You two are contradictory. It's what they call individuality.
It's always like this. We're the only ones who can tell the difference. No one will ever be able to win the Which One Is Hikaru game. And we've known that from the beginning.
Then why don't you tell me something? When someone guesses wrong, why do you look so sad?
It doesn't help that the one person that they actually did like at one point in their lives, which was a maid that ended up stealing from their family. We can't pick and choose who we love, I guess. That maid said to them that nobody would ever be able to tell them apart, which broke their spirit. I think that the twins have the most interesting backstory out of all of the hosts. Well, maybe not Tamaki. We'll get to that later. 7 out of 10. When the twins aren't being gross, I really like their characters. I'm telling you, they're really not bad. A lot of people like to reduce the twins down to just their weird incestuous moments, which, I know that could be hard to look past in the show. Believe me, I get it, and I don't blame people for doing that, but seriously, give them a chance. They're actually really interesting characters.
Until the day it becomes a pumpkin.
Halloween episodes are great, especially in this show, because it's just an excuse to wiggle Nekozawa into the plot, which is always a good thing in my eyes. I love him so much. Haruhi and the twins are in the same class. Yeah, I don't think I mentioned that before. Yeah, Haruhi and the twins are all in the same grade and they're in the same class, but that's something that's been mentioned briefly throughout the series. Anyway, so their class is doing an event and Renge butts in and convinces everybody in their class to do a test of courage tournament as their event. If you're wondering, no, Renge was not supposed to be there. Like I said, I applaud her ability to be everything everywhere all at once. The host club members, well, mostly Tamaki, is distraught that the twins and Haruhi cannot participate in the host club for that week because of event preparations. The Black Magic Club comes in, they team up with the host club to hijack their tournament and scare the class. It's a fun episode, really. I really like this one. Like I said, any episode with Nekozawa is a great episode because Nekozawa is just so unintentionally funny. The jump scares themselves weren't actually scary or anything, but I still enjoyed myself. At the end of the episode, Karu mentions something that will be brought up later again in the series. He notices that Tamaki sees the host club as a family, but recognizes that the club won't last forever and everything will eventually turn back into a pumpkin.
And maybe you're right, class rep. Keeping things the way they are wouldn't be so bad. I'm sure that's what the boss had in mind when he put a spell on his own carriage. We're like a family to him. He doesn't want that to change.
Huh?
Back when we were children, neither the boss nor Hikaru and I had many friends to speak of. Now he just wants to enjoy what he has for as long as he can. I can't blame him.
Sorry, but you've lost me.
But still, one of these days, it'll all turn back into that same old grubby pumpkin again.
I actually reference this pumpkin line a lot, honestly, because it's such a good line. Like, when I'm enjoying life a little too much, I know in the back of my mind that things will turn back into a pumpkin eventually, meaning that, you know, hey, don't get too comfortable because it'll all turn to shit again. It's depressing to say out loud, but it's the truth. 9 out of 10. This might be my second favorite episode. I think I gave another episode a 9 too. It was the cavity episode. Oh, and the twins fighting. That also got a 9. The cavity episode's my third favorite. The Halloween episode's my second favorite. And the Alice in Wonderland is my favorite. Whatever. I love Negazawa. I don't know if I said that before. Did you know that? I love Negazawa. Just my armpit fucking itches, dude. Sorry, that's not very ladylike of me.
Mori-senpai has an apprentice candidate.
Woo! Another two-parter. A mean-looking dude named Kasanoda is generally feared by the entire student body. Kasanoda wants to become Mori-senpai's apprentice because Mori looks just as mean as him, but is still popular with the students.
Morinosuke-senpai, that's why I need you to show me. How do you manage to have so many friends? When you're just as mean-looking as me. You're expressionless, distant, and you hardly ever talk. Plus, you've got a mug that looks like a watchdog from hell, so how come you got so many friends? What are you doing that I'm not? Please, teach me your secrets! I'm begging you!
Listen, I let out a little chuckle. I'm not gonna lie. It was funny. That was good. At first, the hosts say that Kasanoda needs a lovely item because honey is the reason why Mori looks less intimidating. That doesn't work, though, because, of course, it didn't. I told you, all of their plans, they suck. Haruhi at one point interacts with Kasanoda, and Kasanoda falls for her, even though he believes that Haruhi is a boy at the time, but just wait. Due to unfortunate events, Kasanoda finds out that Haruhi is a girl. Again, this is a two-parter, so let's revisit the chart, shall we? We are only at the beginning portion right now. And maybe we're in the middle portion if you consider Kasanoda finding out Haruhi's secret the climax, but I don't. But hey, we're all entitled to our wrong opinions. Either way, episode 23 will resolve all of this. As a standalone episode, it earned a 6.8 out of 10. Kasanoda is great because he is not the stereotypical bully character. In fact, he's quite the opposite. His character was executed to perfection, and I'm so glad that this is a two-parter because that just means that he comes back. But yeah, I don't think there's really like bullies in this show. Like, I know there's like some passive-aggressive characters, but like actual bullies, I don't really think that's a thing in this show, which honestly, I kind of like that.
Tamaki's unwitting depression.
Tamaki is predictably distraught about Haruhi's secret being revealed to Kasanoda because Kasanoda is obviously in love with Haruhi. Kasanoda even goes to the host club during business hours and requests Haruhi in front of an audience. Yeah, because the other clients can see this and they're fascinated by them because to the clients, they see two men together in like a more intimate way. Tamaki eventually musters up the courage to try to prevent Kasanoda from trying to pursue Haruhi by saying that he is Haruhi's father. Kasanoda sees the obvious flaw in that statement because Tamaki is obviously not Haruhi's dad. He just made that shit up, and he shuts Tamaki down.
As her father, I forbid you to see her! Wait, what? You're telling me that you're Fujioka's dad? You have got to be kidding me. That's just not possible.
Oh no.
He's painted the boss into a corner.
Well, we might not be related by blood.
Okay, so what? Are you married to her mom then?
No, as a matter of fact, I've never met the woman.
So I guess you really aren't her father, are you?
He's right, you know. Strictly speaking, I'm not Haruhi's real father.
Strictly speaking or otherwise.
Kasanoda then proceeds to try to confess to Haruhi in the middle of the host club during business hours where everyone can see them, but Haruhi friend zones him before he could articulate his sentence, which that makes the clients go crazy. The girls sympathized with Kasanoda, and now all of a sudden they're not scared of him anymore. So yeah, there he goes. He kind of got what he asked for. So Good for him. This episode is interesting because of the ending. The hosts and clients are playing Kick the Can, and the scene pans to Honey and Mori. They're just sitting in a tree for some reason. Listen, I don't know how Kick the Can works. Apparently, after you kick the can, you have to hide. Very weird. Whatever. I've never played Kick the Can, so I'm sorry if I called that weird. Sorry, I didn't mean to call it weird, but I've never played it, so. Honey wonders if something big is gonna happen before they graduate, since they're both third years. They're the oldest members in the freaking club. They also psychoanalyze the other hosts for a little bit, which basically shows some depth to Honey and Mori.
So, Hiko-chan may seem oblivious, but deep down he's beginning to understand his feelings? And even though it's clear to the rest of us how Tama-chan feels, he is still completely in the dark about it himself?
Yeah.
Then what about Kao-chan and Kyo-chan? Between the two of them, I bet there's someone even more oblivious than Tama-chan is. Considering that, I wonder if something really big is gonna happen before we graduate.
You never know.
I actually really like seeing them be more insightful and aware of their surroundings. Not that they like weren't aware at all to begin with, but like it's just, it was never really like directly displayed in the show. And so kind of seeing them just be a bit more deep with their like emotions and personalities and like actually genuinely reflect on like what's going on, it kind of just, it makes them more of a like a three-dimensional kind of duo, because I feel like before they're just there for like the cuteness, and you know they're very one note. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Anyway, this episode was cute. I like Kasanoda. 7 out of 10. Yeah, he does not come back, I don't think. No, he does not come back. Top 10 character for me personally. Maybe top 5 if I'm being generous.
And so Kyoya met him.
I love a good lore episode. All right. Oh, it's always so good. This episode is about how Kyoya was convinced to start the host club with Tamaki. Tamaki had just transferred to Ouran, and Kyoya was instructed to befriend Tamaki for the family connections. Kyoya is really good at doing that, so he didn't object to the idea. Unfortunately for Kyoya, Tamaki is a handful. Tamaki is unintentionally demanding, and Kyoya is unintentionally a people pleaser.
Not for this Tamaki Suo guy. When we went to Kyoto, he wanted to see the Daimonji bonfire, even though it's still springtime. And as we were eating Okinawa soba noodles, he tells me he wants to compare them to Shinshu soba noodles. Then he went on about whether a Shisa or a Namahage would win in a fight. And then, after all that...
I'm sorry for asking you to do all of this. You're right. It's not your responsibility, Kyoya. I'm sorry. I've overestimated your ability to entertain me.
But this time, I'm going to make sure I'm ready for anything! I promise that while the two of us are in Hokkaido, I will cater to your every whim, Suo!
We're going to Hokkaido? I know you want to enjoy your life to the fullest, but don't you think we should be spending our time studying for finals right now? We can go to Hokkaido when they're over. I think you should start hitting the books, my friend.
My, Kyoya. What on earth is the matter with you?
That bastard! He's an idiot! I knew that! But I honestly had no idea that he was such a total dumbass!
Tamaki was driving Kyoya insane with each passing day, and all that anger eventually came out when Tamaki admitted that he didn't plan on inheriting his family's fortune and following his father's footsteps. Kyoya sees that it's easy for Tamaki to be successful because he has no sibling. Kyoya sees that it's easy for Tamaki to be successful because Tamaki doesn't have any siblings to compete with, and so everything is pretty much guaranteed to him. Meanwhile, Kyoya has 2 older brothers in his way in order to inherit anything from his family. Kyoya is annoyed that Tamaki isn't even trying to secure his future, but then Tamaki tells Kyoya that he believes that Kyoya is the one that's given up on his family, fortune, or business, or whatever, because Kyoya had just rolled over and accepted his fate as the 3rd son instead of fighting for his place at the table. Tamaki then convinces Kyoya to start the host club together, and Kyoya agrees because it's a crazy idea that'll help him understand Tamaki's world. Seeing Kyoya's family honestly makes me feel lazy because I am not half as hard of a worker as they are. I do not envy Kyoya in the slightest, but however, I applaud Kyoya's determination to become something great, despite the odds not being in his favor. Hunger Games. Tamaki was as iconic as Honey and Mori's, I think. Like, I really enjoy seeing them interact for longer than like a scene or two. And I also like how diverse Kyoya's emotions was in this episode. I don't think that's grammatically correct. I also liked how diverse Kyoya's emotions were in this episode because we don't really get to see Kyoya be like visibly angry. He's either slightly amused, indifferent, or just annoyed. He actually laughs for the first time in this episode too, which is like nice to see. Like I said, it really gives Kyoya more dimension, kind of like the last episode did with like Honey and Mori for a second. Yeah, I like seeing Kyoya be more than just like a one-note character. This was really, really good, and I really enjoyed this. What a great episode. 8 out of 10.
The host club declares dissolution.
The last 2 episodes of the series is a 2-parter. Chart, please. Thank you. This episode is the textbook definition of this beginning portion of the diagram, so keep that in mind. The school fair is here, and parents are all over campus. The host club is participating in a parade, and they are opening the host club to the general public for the entire duration of the fair. Tamaki's father and Kyoya's father make an appearance for the first time in, like, the present day, because I'm not really counting flashback scenes. So, yeah, this is the first time we get to see them. Kyoya's dad slaps Kyoya for being in the host club, but it's later revealed that Kyoya's dad was upset about an unrelated issue and just took it out on Kyoya. That was a whole thing. Anyway, Kyoya knew that his father wouldn't approve of the host club, so it really didn't faze him much, but Haruhi was not happy about that. Tamaki's lovely grandmother shows up and is casually cruel to Tamaki. She then orders Tamaki to personally escort this woman named Lady Eclair around for like the next 2 days of the fair. Because Tamaki is a slave to his grandmother, he does that, no questions asked. Lady Eclair, to put it quite plainly, is a weirdo, and she loves these magnifying glasses that are only used in like the opera. You know the ones I'm talking about. You'll see what I'm talking about in a second, but yeah, just weird. She carries those everywhere she goes. It's kind of like Linus with that blanket, or I guess Honey with Usa-chan. But even then, how often do we see Usa-chan in this series? Not that often. Despite her obvious flaws, she is a beautiful woman. I'll give her that. The rest of the hosts are concerned because Tamaki has pretty much been MIA throughout the entire first day of the festival. At one point, Haruhi finds Tamaki and Lady Eclair in the host room. She was only there to change outfits, but Haruhi confronts Tamaki for abandoning the club. Lady Eclair senses something between Haruhi and Tamaki, and she does not like that. Off screen, some shit goes down, and Tamaki eventually returns to the hosts with Lady Eclair, and he announces that he is engaged to Lady Eclair and disbanding the host club after the fair.
Everyone, I have an important announcement. As of today, Lady Eclair, Tonnerre, and I are officially engaged. Furthermore, the host club will be permanently dissolved after the Ouran Fair. That is all.
This episode was heavy. Tamaki lore was revealed, and it explained why his grandmother resents him. So it was briefly stated before, but Tamaki is the product of an affair that his father had with a woman in France when he was out of town for business or whatever. Tamaki's grandmother arranged a marriage for his father, but then, he fell in love with that woman in France. When Tamaki was born, Granny the Grinch refused to recognize Tamaki as her grandchild, and Tamaki's mother's family business went bankrupt, and the grandmother offered financial security to them in exchange for Tamaki moving back to Tokyo and having zero contact with his mother. No communication, nothing, can't see them, nope, none, zilch. It's like he's dead to her, which is just fucked up. Tamaki agrees to these terms because he wants his mother to be well off. Long story short, Tamaki founded the host club kind of as a way to manufacture his own family because, well, the only family he had was taken away from him. That's so sad. Hold on to your girdles, alright? The plot only gets thicker from here. All right, first of all, this 7 out of 10, obviously. But yeah, hang on. There's more.
This is our Ouran affair.
It's day 2 of the school fair, and the hosts have to operate their business as usual, despite the bomb that Tamaki dropped in their laps the day prior. Lady Eclair visited the fair and paid off Haruhi's debt, so that way Tamaki would have no reason to be around Haruhi. It's then revealed that Tamaki's grandmother had bribed Tamaki into proposing to Lady Eclair by promising to let him see his mother again. It's also revealed that Kyoya's father was going to give Kyoya part of the family business, but it was going to be purchased right from under him without his control, which is what his dad was upset about in the last episode. Later in the episode, the hosts see that Tamaki is leaving for good before the fair is even over, so they try to stop him. Kelia's family's private police force were ordered to prevent the host from leaving the fair, and it's like, man, whose side are you on? Honey and Mori single-handedly hold off the police force, which, by the way, they did that during the Jungle SOS, you know, that episode. I don't remember. What was that, episode 7? I don't remember. They did it the first, like, they did that in that episode, and then they did it again in this episode. Like, didn't you learn your lesson the last time? Be so astronomically for real right now. They hold off the police while the twins and Haruhi use the horse-drawn carriage from the parade that they used earlier to go after Tamaki. Hikaru recklessly drives the carriage through like a rocky road and flies out of it. Karu, of course, jumps off the carriage to go help him because duh. Hikaru is visually distraught by the idea of the host club disbanding so suddenly, and that triggers Haruhi to use the carriage to follow Tamaki on her own. There's this badass sequence of Haruhi removing her wig and like being side by side with Tamaki while, you know, she's in the carriage and like he's in the car, and they're like, there's like this whole thing going on. Anyway, Haruhi tries to convince Tamaki to return to the host club. Part of the reason why Tamaki agreed to leave in the first place was because he thought that he was burdening the other hosts by making them join the club, because like, you know, if he didn't force Haruhi to stay in the host club, then she could be pursuing her lawyer career that she always wanted because of like her mother or something, and like, you know, just stuff like that. Like, he realized that a lot of his actions have not really been positive on the hosts' lives, and he feels guilty about that, and so in his mind he's trying to fix what he had done. But then Haruhi explains that everybody in the host club loves being there, including her, and that when they joke about him making their lives a living hell, they're just jokes. Like, you know, I feel like she literally said, I think, during the sequence, like, my God, you're such a fucking idiot. Well, she didn't say that, but you know what I mean? But she said, like, you're such an idiot. You seriously cannot tell when we're joking?
All of us would be completely lost without you, Senpai!
But they all said they were put out by the host club.
You really are an idiot! What's wrong with you? After all this time we've been together, you still can't tell when we're joking and when we're serious? Everyone loves being in the host club! We really do! Even me, Senpai! I love being part of the host club too!
He's so funny. Anyway, Haruhi then loses her footing in the carriage and falls off. This whole sequence, by the way, happens on a bridge, so Haruhi is plummeting into a river. So, you know, she's relatively speaking, she would be okay. At first, Lady Eclair holds Tamaki back from helping Haruhi, but when she fell off the bridge, she knew she had no choice, so she let Tamaki jump after her. It's then revealed that the housekeeper that Lady Eclair has at her house is Tamaki's mother. If Tamaki stayed with Lady Eclair, he actually would have been able to see her. Haruhi and Tamaki then meet up with the rest of the hosts, and they enjoy the rest of the school fair as a family. So sweet. So lots of stuff happened in this episode in a well wrapped up sequence, kind of like a well-made burrito. Or a swaddled baby. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I'm so tired. At the end of the episode, Kelia's father finds out that a different organization ended up buying his company, but gave him all management rights. He also found out that that organization was actually Kelia. Kelia's father realized that his son had taken his company away from him, but essentially rejected it by giving it back to him. That made him realize that he had nothing to worry about when it came to Kelia, and his son is going to be just fine. I also want to point out how Lady Eclair uses her magnifying glasses in the shower. What, you can't see the soap, girl? Get contacts if you can't see that badly. She needs help. Ooh, another thing. I said that Hikaru fell off the carriage during, like, that chase sequence, but I never told you where he fell. Guess where Hikaru fell? He fell in a pumpkin patch. Karu said a few episodes ago how eventually everything will turn back into a pumpkin.
One of these days, it'll all turn back into that same old grubby pumpkin again.
And at that point, everything was kind of turning into a pumpkin, at least until Haruhi intervened. Like, I'm almost positive that was all done on purpose. Like, I'm almost positive. It's like, I felt like that Leonardo DiCaprio gif of him pointing at, like, a screen. Like, like, honestly, I was so surprised that I got that. They did the thing! I don't know why that gagged me so much, but it did. Anyway, I have something to confess. I lied to you earlier. I said that episode 13, the Haruhi and Wonderland episode was the only episode that I gave a perfect score to. I gave this episode a 10 out of 10 because I need to stop saying this, but I'm a slut for a happy ending. I'm sorry, Mom. Sorry, Dad. It's the truth. Like, I cried, ugly cried when I saw the hosts together looking all happy and shit. Like, it was such a beautiful ending. How many shows can you say have like a really beautiful ending? Not many. You could probably count them on your one hand alone. And this is one of them. It was so satisfying. I loved it. I loved it so much. I'm such a sap. Proudly, but I'm such a sap. We made it to the end. That's all the episodes. Overall thoughts? This show has a lot of flaws. I was not shy about that at all while talking about this. But despite its lows, the highs are what make it such a beloved series, not just to me, but to like a lot of other people. I've been writing the script for the past week, and I'm still getting comments about how people are still so emotionally attached to the show, despite growing up and realizing that it's a little weird. Didn't age very well. I love the show because it was my first anime. I said that at the very beginning. I'm weirdly sentimental about a lot of things, especially like my first anything, and I get super attached, especially when it's my first. So it's crazy. I remember I cried when my family, like, we have this toaster. We've always had this fucking toaster. I cried when the toaster stopped working. It was so weird. I don't know why I was so emotionally attached to that toaster. I didn't even realize how attached I was to it until I came home one day and I just saw that there was just a new toaster. And I was like, what the hell is this thing? So if I'm attached that much to a toaster, of course I'm going to be attached to my first anime. I see a lot of people, I've been seeing this for years, but I've been seeing a lot of people ask for like a season 2 of ouran, and honestly I don't really think that's necessary. Yeah, more content is provided in the manga, but like the anime as a standalone media is just, it's perfect. With all that being said, here are my top 3 favorite episodes, even though I think I'm pretty sure I already told you, but I'm just going to say it again. Haruhi and Wonderland, episode 13, best episode. The Halloween episode, I think that's episode 21, and the Cavity episode. I don't remember what number that was, but yeah. My top 3 favorite characters, on the other hand, who's number 1? Number 1 is, it's Honey. It has to be Honey. I love Honey so much. Come on, he gave us Usa-chan. How could you hate Honey? Nekazawa, definitely second favorite, and then Renge is my third favorite. Honey and Mori are obviously my favorite duo. I said that like at least 1,000 times. But Kyoya and Tamaki are a close second. I think Kyoya might be my 4th favorite character, if I'm being honest. And lastly, come on, Usa-chan, such an underrated character. Come on. I think Usa-chan might be my 5th favorite character. Love this little fucker. He's so cute. With all of that being said, that concludes the video. I don't know if you ever noticed this before, but the guitar riff that's at the beginning of a lot, like I think my more recent videos, I think, is actually a snippet of the song that plays at the end of each ouran episode. I actually could not listen to that song without getting super emotional because this show carries a lot of baggage for me. I feel like a lot of people can pinpoint the day that they lost their innocence, or at least like the time period. I watched ouran around the time that I was becoming more aware of the world. I feel like ouran kind of symbolizes the last time that I was blissfully ignorant about life and just innocent in general. So it's really powerful stuff, really touching stuff for me. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you've watched all the way through, like, I don't know how long this video is going to be, maybe like an hour. I'm guessing it's gonna be an hour-long video. Good lord, I'm not ready to edit this. I hope you like my dress. I decided to wear this dress because I don't have a yellow dress like the school uniform that they have in ouran, but I do have this blue dress, and I think it's like pretty much the same color blue as the school uniforms for the boys. Yeah, I wanted to stunt on the hoes for this video because, I don't know, like I said, Ouran Academy is an elite private school, and you gotta look the part, alright? You can't look all gross and grotesque while talking about Ouran Academy. They're gonna spit on you and laugh at you. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. That's so nice of you. You made it this far. You're listening to me talk right now. That means you made it to the very end. That's crazy. Why are you still here? And I'll see you guys when I see you. Say bye, Usa-chan. Bye!
Only those with excellent social standing and those from filthy rich families are lucky enough to spend their time here at the elite private school Ouran Academy. The Ouran Host Club is where the school's handsomest boys, with too much time on their hands, entertain young ladies who also have way too much time on their hands. Think of it as Ouran Academy's elegant playground for the super rich and beautiful.
You're welcome to visit us in Music Room 3 whenever you'd like to.
The Ouran House Club will be waiting for you.
And we want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
We'll see you then.
Kiss, kiss, fall in love. Na, 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 na. Hey, hey, hey. I see you ba 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 ba. Forgot the words, I'm sorry. Na, 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 na. So is this love or hate? We'll see you. Hey, hey, all I see is you and me. Lady, maybe. Oh, I'm fine. I really don't mind. If I had to choose a rose in this garden of romance, wait, no, is it? Maybe we could take this chance. Can you stop messing up, please? Maybe you're my love. Na, 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 na. But I'll know. Hey, wrong video. Oh, sorry. It's okay. You know what? Let's just wrap this up. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Maybe you're my love.